So now we're going to start with the official welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome you to our today's webinar, Streamline Your Media Campaign Planning Process at ADvendio. My name is Myriam Hirt, and I'm the Customer Relationship Manager here at ADvendio. And I'm very excited to be co-hosting this webinar together with my brilliant colleague and product manager, Jennifer Hornibrook. For the ones who are joining an ADvendio webinar for the first time, everyone who is joining is automatically on mute. And you can use the chat box in the corner of the screen if you have any questions. And we will answer the questions at the end of the webinar. Also, for the webinar is also being recorded and it will be sent out to you in a couple of days. If you would like to share it or listen to it again if you need to. So let's have a quick look at today's agenda. So we will do a quick introduction into our today's topic, and after that we will talk about the key challenges customers are facing today. And then we will move on to my favorite part, Jennifer. You will show us around in a live demo how you can best use the Media Search Plus and manage your targeting in ADvendio. And at the end of our webinar, we will have some time for question and answer. Okay. So of course, there are a number of key features which come under the topic covered in our webinar today. And those are check availability directly in the media search, content and targeting group filtering, flexible targeting sets, and ad hoc targeting options. Okay. And well, of course, these features have been designed to help users who encounter key challenges in their planning processes. Some of these challenges are as follows. Planning without knowledge of availability. That means basically that what you're working on might not even be available anymore once you check the availability after creating your items. Having to filter through sometimes technically named or categorized inventory instead of focusing on the goal or aim of the campaign. Inflexible pre-configured targeting options. Relying too much on manual configuration by sales teams, which are, of course, error-prone, but most important and overall, the time-consuming nature of the media planning processes, all the way from selecting the correct inventory to correctly targeting it. Okay. So now that we have looked closer into the challenges that we would like to overcome and we know what to expect from today's webinar, I would like to hand over to you, Jennifer, who will be showing us a live demo in the system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Myriam, for that introduction and for giving everybody an idea of what to expect from today's webinar. Let me also just preface as well on the side of what Myriam said earlier, somebody has just started to repair the heating in our office right now. So I hope you won't hear anything in the background, but just in case you do, that's what it is.
Okay.
Just in case. Yeah, so for today's webinar, we're going to spend most of our time in two areas of the product, which everybody here on the line today is very familiar with. And those are, of course, the media search and the media configuration. These are two key features where the sales or ad ops teams of your companies spend most of their time. And of course, then it makes sense that it is really important that you really optimize the processes as much as possible in these particular places. So let's just straight jump into it over to our demo org, where we will have a look into our first topic, or more so collection of topics, which we refer to here in ADvendio as the Media Search Plus. So of course here I have a sample media campaign, and if I just press here at the top, media search, I will be brought to the media search in Lightning. At this point of the webinar, it's definitely worth pointing out that all of the features that I'm going to show you today here are available exclusively in the Lightning version of our media search. So if you're still using an older version of media search, really please do consider using the media search in Lightning to not only, of course, get use of this beautiful Lightning UI that you see in front of you, but also to avail of these features that we're going to show you today.
Maybe I can add here also for the ones who have not done the transition to Lightning yet, we recommend to carry out the transition to Lightning soon. This way, everyone can benefit from all the new developments, as you already said, Jennifer, within it. And if you need any help with this, please feel free to reach out to your technical account manager, myself, or just simplify email us at support@advendio.com.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Myriam. That's actually quite good for everyone to know that they have someone to help them with this migration as well if they need to. So now for a look at our media search, of course, as you can see here straight away, there are many different options for filtering or searching through your inventory. Some of these filters are really focused on kind of the inventory and the inventory-based kind of technical specifications within ADvendio. So things, of course, like here you have your sites, your placements, your ad types, billing category. But now users can also filter by things. If I just scroll down a little here, things such as content and targeting groups. And what those do is allow you to filter based on more of the goals of the given media campaign. So for example, here in the content filter, if I just have a quick look and I type in, for example, this one, and I want to search for this one as well. And when I press filter, I'll then only be shown inventory where this particular content is relevant.
Okay, Jennifer, regarding the content, can you maybe explain a bit more in detail what exactly content means, especially for the ones who are not really familiar with this concept?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense at this point to do. So within ADvendio, content is really a very flexible object that you can use. It can be used as an additional way to structure your inventory. So you could use it, for example, for your print products to cover and sell maybe different parts of publications based on the topic or content of that particular section. So of course, it could represent maybe the politics section, or it could also be the economic news or something like that. You can also use it for out-of-home ads, for example, by having a content for each location that your display would be located. So for example, here in the screen right now, I have put the food court in LAX is one content, while the food court in JFK is another. So in this way, by using the content to search through your inventory, you're really focusing on the target audience or the aim of the particular campaign, as opposed to the specific structure or setup of the inventory, such as the site, ad type, or placement. Yeah. So we also then have a very similar based kind of search, which is the targeting groups. And I'll explain, of course, in a few minutes what that actually means in a bit more detail. But also filtering by this allows you to filter your inventory. I'll just reset here, for example. You can filter by your targeting groups, press filter. So that also allows you to do a much more goal-orientated search for your users and see inventory that is just for that particular targeting group. These filtering options are, of course, a great way to ensure the inventory that you're seeing firstly suits the needs of the planned campaign, but then I think comes, of course, the next part, which is it even available, or how much is available for when you kind of plan to run your campaign. And that's where the next point of our webinar today comes in, which is the check availability for digital and non-digital inventory. This allows users to filter for only items which are available during their planned runtime, and also gives them information as to the availability directly in the media search. So if I just reset my media search here for a second, and I filter by the targeting group, sports, for example, I press filter, I scroll down, you can see here we have 3 results. So there are 3 things that match this particular targeting group and meet the aims or the target audience of this particular campaign. But let's say right now, I already know that I want this campaign to run next week. I want it to run maybe Monday or something like that. I know it's very short in advance, but we'll have a look. You can enter this here under the budget and time period section. So if I just click in here and I go from the 23rd to the 23rd and I press filter again, that will now be searching and seeing what is available and checking the availability. So this may take a bit, depending, of course, whether it's a digital item or a non-digital item, excuse me, as it requires calling out to the connected systems, of course. But this will, in the end or in the long run, it will save you time because there's less going back and forth. You're not dealing with inventory that you don't know if it's available or not. And you can also configure whether you see only available results. So if you only see the inventory in the results down here, which is available, or if you see everything but give information as to the availability. So right now, as I was talking, you see that this finished, and now we only have one result, so not the 3 that we had before, because the other 2 are not currently available in my planned runtime, and I already know this directly here in the media search before I add anything to the basket. So firstly, I know that it's available because it's here, and in here in the media search in the availability section, I can see the amount of units that are actually available for booking.
Okay, perfect. So that's really great, Jennifer. And it really saves time in configuring something which won't be available in the end, and prevents back and forth between the parties negotiating new times or items after finding out something isn't available anymore. And you also mentioned, Jennifer, this is possible for both digital and non-digital items, right?
Yeah, so what I just showed here was actually the availability or exclusivity check for a non-digital item, just because it's a bit quicker to do, or a bit easier for me to set up in the demo org. But it works the exact same for a digital item. So you'll put in whatever filters you want, and you just put in your dates and you press filter. And the only difference is, like, as I said, it might take a little bit longer. This was very quick. It was very quick. I just spoke a little bit longer than it was running, but it'll take a little while because it would call out to the relevant systems and return the availability for that item directly.
Awesome, great to hear that this is actually applicable for both digital and non-digital inventory, especially for our customers who work quite often with cross-media campaigns.
Exactly. For those customers, it's particularly useful to know that they can carry out both availability checks for different types of inventory in the exact same step. They don't have to do any initial or additional steps on top of it, this for the non-digital and this for the digital. So quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Jennifer, now that you have shown us or shown how users can efficiently filter through their inventory to optimize the inventory section, what comes next here?
Yeah, so of course, once you've found whatever available inventory matches your needs and you've decided this is what I want, and you've added it to your basket, which of course happens quite easily here in the new media search, you press this and you see it reflected directly in your media basket. Next comes the crucial step of configuring the specifics. So of course, the actual runtime that you want, the quantity capping, and most importantly, any targeting that you need. Earlier, I did mention, of course, the word targeting groups, and I said that I'd come back and explain that a little bit later. And I think now is definitely the correct time to do that before I go any further down this description.
Yeah, that would be great. So go for it.
Let's just jump on over here as well. So within ADvendio, we have this relatively new feature, which is called targeting groups. And what that does is it allows you to group together different things in order to better sort and target your inventory. So of course, it's always easier to visualize with an example. So I'm just going to quickly press new to create a new one here just for us in the UI. So maybe just European geography, maybe iOS, iOS users, something like that. So of course, you give your targeting group a name, and you can of course categorize them as well if you want in order to more easily identify and kind of structure your targeting groups. Completely up to you. And then when you just press save here, that was creating a targeting group, very quick and very simple. And if we then look at the related tab, we can see that we can group together different things. So I can group together ad prices, contents, and or targeting sets. And then that way, whenever I filter by this specific targeting group in the media search, I'll only see inventory which corresponds to those specific ad prices or contents, or of course targeting sets, whatever you've set up. So if I just jump back to my media campaign that I was just in, whoops, shouldn't have closed that tab, but we'll just quickly jump over. We can have a quick look and see what that means again. Even though we just did it with the sports, we can have a quick look just to make sure that everyone kind of saw what that was. We go back here, we click on our media search. And if what did I search by the last time? I searched by, sports. Yeah, of course, sports is one. And if I also do, for example, travel, which is one of the other ones we just saw in the tab, and I press filter, I get one result as well. And then when I click plus and I add it to my basket, You can see for both of them, there's actually one targeting group assigned where I can also click and hover and I can get more information as well about the targeting group itself. Then when I enter into the media config with those things selected, we can see that the targeting group that we have configured is already pre-selected. If we go to our selected targeting, it's pre-selected under the targeting groups fields. And if I want to, I can click edit. I can also add more targeting groups on the spot. For example, you can search through the existing ones if you want to add maybe sports and foodies as well, and you press save and you can see that you can add them on the spot as needed. This approach can be used to group together things like we said, you've got a number of contents, maybe with similar audiences, like we have here. That's how I did the travel group, which we created in our test org. You can also group together different targeting sets. So you can group together similar targeting sets across different systems. And meaning that if users filter by this particular targeting group, they can really be sure that the resulting inventory will reach their particular target audiences.
Okay, so Jennifer, you mentioned now quite a lot or quite a few times targeting sets. Yeah, can you maybe explain a little bit further or more in detail for the users online? What does it mean?
Yeah, definitely. So targeting sets are yet another way we have of grouping your targeting together. And they really, of course, aim to optimize or speed up the campaign item configuration for your teams. I think I showed this in one of our, maybe the last release webinar or the one before. I've lost track at this point. We've done quite a few this year. But we have this really great wizard, which you can use to create new targeting sets. So if I press new, for example, here in my targeting sets tab, you see that you're brought to a different UI. This is a specific wizard for creating targeting sets. You give your targeting set a name as you want. You then click the relevant connection. So which system should this targeting set connect to, or which information should be taken from that? Like I said, you can give it a validity. You can also give it a description for yourself to help categorize your stuff as well. And then you go ahead and you pick the inventory. So you need to pick the connection first, because then that defines, of course, which targeting is available and which information is available under each specific targeting group. But then you can create your targeting set as you want. You can make it up with things such as geo-targeting, of course. You have inventory targeting or even key values. You click here, you see that you open these familiar UIs, which we'll look at as well in a second. Yeah, but that is how you make a specific targeting set.
Okay. So does it mean that the users creating the campaigns, they won't have to think about a relevant targeting? So does it mean it's already pre-configured and selected?
Yes. So when you create a targeting set and you assign it to something, that means it's ready to apply to that particular inventory. We have already had this kind of in a way in the form of pre-selected connection IDs, or ad server IDs as they were called maybe at the time. The difference here, however, is that targeting sets can be assigned to ad type, ad spec, and account. And additionally, or most importantly, at least in my opinion, is they can also be flagged as flexible. So if we just jump back here and look at an existing one, just pick one here from the top. So if we look here, we can see this is a sample targeting set. It's configured for fashion and young fashion and beauty, so under 30s, here it's described as. And for male and female, we can tell all of this, of course, from the name and from the description. If we look here also, we can see that the ad server targeting has been set up. That, of course, has been made using the handy wizard that we just saw, and it has all of the relevant targeting information ready to be submitted to the connected systems when this has been used. If I now look at the related list, we can see that I have 2 ad specs assignments here. And what that means is that one of them, which we can see here from this little checkbox, one is marked as flexible and one is not. And what I would really like to show here is the difference that that makes in the media config for the users, where a targeting set is marked as flexible and where a targeting set is not marked as flexible. So let me just quickly jump back over here to media campaigns. And this one, I believe, where I already have a media basket, hopefully still prepared. Let's have a look. Yes, so you can see here, of course, you've got the MomCorp homepage leaderboard, and that is flagged here as flexible. And we have the same ad spec as well, where it's not flexible. And if I now enter the media config with these two items selected, you can very clearly see the difference in the targeting set being flexible versus it not being flexible. So if I now look under the key values section, here for the homepage leaderboard, you can see that the particular targeting information has been broken down into the individual targeting. So if I click here, for example, edit, I can maybe remove some aspects of the targeting set if I like. Maybe I don't want it for under 19, maybe I only want it for male, and then I press save, and that updates the targeting information in the UI for me. This means that, of course, flexible, of course, is that it's how much of the targeting set I want to keep, and of course, I can additionally configure additional targeting on top of that. Whereas if we look here at the item that was marked as, or was not flagged as flexible, that is not the case. So you cannot change aspects of the targeting set. It needs to be applied, and the users, so the users who are configuring the media campaigns, cannot remove any aspect of it. From those two examples, as you saw, so the targeting groups and targeting sets, they are two very good ways in which the creation of your media campaigns can be optimized, and they can also be improved, of course, to save time in configuring maybe different targeting criteria over and over again for who knows how many line items. And furthermore, you can also control the degree to which targeting can be configured during the line item creation with the flexible and not flexible.
Yeah, thank you. Very important and interesting. Can you maybe also let us know if these targeting options can be used in addition to previous targeting options?
Yes, so if those fields are in your layout, your users can, of course, continue to configure additional criteria in the media config just as they've been doing before where needed. And that's actually something that I briefly wanted to touch off as well, is just some of the different UIs that we have, which are optimized for configuring different types of targeting, because, of course, there are different types of targeting, and that really having the perfectly designed or the best designed UI that you can for that targeting makes quite the difference. So if we just have a quick look here under, which tab am I looking for? This one, my day and time targeting. We see that I have a day and time targeting section here. And if I just quickly press edit, and it'll load for me now, we will see that we have this great grid-like UI, which users can use to select and deselect day and time targeting. So I can select everything like that. I can choose to deselect certain things. Quite easy to use, very intuitive, and works perfectly. And then if I just press save, we can see as well that that information has now been has now been transformed into strings that can be submitted directly to the connected systems as well. If we look under the exclusivity tab, you have the options for excluding specific connection IDs. So here we actually use a very similar UI for the selected targeting. So if we just quickly jump over here, you have the selected targeting sets. It's the similar UI that we have there, basically. So we reuse them where needed and where it works. And with the excluding, this is a simplified one, and it kind of enables you to easily select IDs to make sure, for example, that ads targeting adults, so for example, like alcohol or tobacco-related topics, products, should I say, that they won't run on things like family sites. Competing brands will not be placed next to each other, and therefore allowing you to really easily and simply maintain brand safety. This modal is useful because, of course, here we don't have many, but you could scroll here if there were a few more, or you can also just search directly here with a simple text search. And additionally, you can then see, of course, under the selected exclusions, what is already selected for you as well. Next thing perhaps that would be good to show is, which most of the users here as well are pretty sure familiar with, is the selection tree. So the selection tree is really, really useful for navigating through complex targeting structures. So for example, under, where am I, geo-targeting, you have things, you could have countries, you could have regions, you could have states, you could have cities, you could have airports. And the selection tree really helps navigating through these kind of complex structures that are there. This is also, of course, the case for key values. Of course, the tree takes a bit longer to load depending on how much information is in that particular targeting. And as soon as this one loads, you'll see just how much is under there. So here you've also got like TVs, countries. They're broken down also into provinces, and they go further down into cities. So you can see why this might have taken a little bit more time to load. So you can search through the tree structure if you like, or you can of course also use the search here as well, the simple text search. And when things are added, you can very clearly see what has been included, what has been excluded, all in this really handy diagram. And the same as the other one, when you press save, of course, it gets stored in the field in a way or in a value that can be submitted to the ad servers. For postal codes, we also have a specifically designed UI. So if I just quickly click here on select postal code, you'll see that you can select, for example, the country. We're in Germany, so I'll select Germany, where you can select the country and you can go through either entering a single postal code. So for example, R1 like this. You can check to verify that it is a valid postal code, or you can also then put in a range, whichever is more convenient for you, depending, of course, on how many postal codes you are targeting. Yes, then we have kind of the last step in it, which is, in addition to everything that we just showed, we also have creative targeting. And what that does is it allows you to configure specific targeting information for specific slot sizes. So if we just have a look here in the first item that we have here, and if you just press this plus, what you'll see here is the different slot sizes that are available for this particular inventory. And what you can then do is you can configure specific targeting specifically suited for the individual creatives that are there.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for explaining this, Jennifer. And you just mentioned that it is up to the customers themselves how much and to what extent these particular targeting options are used. Is this right?
Yes, so you can really customize the media config as much as you want, of course, using tab rules and the tab setup in ADvendio. So through this, you can decide which fields are displayed entirely, which tabs and which fields are displayed, and also under what conditions, and therefore, of course, when and how customers can use them. So you could manage your targeting entirely through things such as targeting groups or targeting sets, and not display any targeting fields in the media config. You could configure that all of your targeting is done kind of ad hoc as you go and have all of the targeting fields available. Or of course, you can do a combination thereof, have fields that you need and do the rest through things like targeting groups or targeting sets to save yourself some time. Of course, it really depends on specific business needs and requirements, I think, but as you can see, there's really a whole host of information and a whole host of options available.
Yeah, that's true, Jennifer. I think there are many options available. And as I can see so far, we have covered a lot of topics. You showed us a lot with regards to the media search and the media configuration, how to make use of it properly, and how we can overcome the key challenges that we earlier mentioned. And well, normally at this point, you always come up with some exciting developments, yeah, that we are working on. How about this time?
At the moment, I only have two that I can tell you for a particular topic. So if I just quickly jump over here, I think we have we have a slide for it. So at the moment, what we are looking to do, or what improvements we plan on making in 2021 for these these features, is that we want to make other filters in the media search also multi-select. So I'm not sure if you noticed or if the customer noticed, but as you saw when I was filtering by contents, I could search and select multiple contents at the same time. I searched for the food court in LAX and the food court in JFK at the same time. This is not necessarily the case for some other particularly older fields in the media search, such as site, placement, or ad type. So one enhancement that we do want to do is to allow the users to search or make those multi-select as well. So that way the users can search, for example, for multiple sites at once. And then the other one that we wanted to do, or the other enhancement that we have in mind, is that we want the targeting groups to be inherited from the ad price or content group assignment and shown in the media config. I'm not sure if the customers noticed, but when I searched by the targeting group and I showed that it was selected and then it was reflected in the media config, we want that to be possible without having to search for the particular targeting group first. So that is something that we think is going to be a really good improvement for the customers and the users of these particular features.
Okay, sounds interesting, and thank you for sharing this with us. Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer, is there anything else you would like to show us today?
No, I think for now that's everything we wanted to show you with regards to the Media Search Plus and targeting within ADvendio. It's really important to us that you can have a better understanding of the capabilities that are already there, which will definitely help in streamlining your media planning processes and hopefully save both you and your users time and of course money in the end. At the beginning, we mentioned that we, of course, always save some time for questions. We usually go along the lines of Myriam will have a look, read the questions from the chat, and I will do my best to answer them here on the webinar. You still have a minute or two. I think obviously you can still add them as we're asking to get them in. So don't hesitate if you have any questions. Yeah, over to you, Myriam.
Yeah, perfect. I will have a look now at the chat box and see how what kind of questions we got there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's one regarding the media search, Jennifer. Yeah. And is the media search lightning out of beta already?
Yes, so it has officially left beta already. One feature which customers are waiting for is the check for active records. And we're currently planning for that to be implemented by January next year. So it's one thing that's kind of still in waiting for the media search, but it is out of Lightning, yes.
Okay.
Out of beta, sorry. Out of Lightning.
Yeah. And another customer is asking or saying, hello, can we add next to availability the quantity we booked?
Presumably, maybe they're talking about in the results list, but no, this is something that's not implemented yet, and currently it's only covered by the media config. Of course, if this is something that you're interested in being implemented, please feel free to talk to your technical account manager or just send us an email or a case via support@advendio.com, and then our product team can reach out to you and can evaluate your request.
Okay, perfect. And another question also regarding the media search, a question about the media search functionality. Is it possible to see the options here? So the campaigns that aren't closed and won yet, normally you can see this in the booking calendar.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, it might also be something related to the availability check. Of course, if I'm not understanding this question correctly, feel free to contact us afterwards to discuss it in a little bit more detail. But in the media search, of course, you can only see the available units and no contending items or campaigns to your current selection. So for this case, or this use case, the booking calendar would still be the best feature to use for that, if it's looking at kind of contending items.
Yeah. And there's another question also. What is the difference between targeting groups and targeting sets?
Yes, that actually is a good thing. That should have been maybe pointed out better throughout the webinar, because they sound quite similar, I think, when you talk about them, especially back to back. So the targeting groups, they're being used for kind of all kinds of media types, and they're used to help connect specific targeting or specific products with things like audiences in order to easier match your customers' desired campaign goals. Targeting sets, on the other hand, are used to group digital targeting criteria and to reuse them. So targeting sets can be connected to targeting groups, which we saw, of course, in the related list, but they can also be used as a template on their own, as I explained earlier with the flexible and inflexible. So the targeting sets can be their own targeting criteria separate or as part of a targeting group.
Perfect. And we have another customer question here. The customer is asking, how configurable is the media search?
You can really configure nearly every part of this component to fit your needs. So you can configure which information you see in the quick search. There's a quick search text box at the top, which I didn't actually really click on at all because we were actually looking at the filters more. You can also configure which fields are able to even be used as filters. So we had quite a few in there. You can have it a lot more, you can have a lot less, depending on what you need. You can also configure if the availability check is done and if it shows all available results or if it shows all available inventory or all inventory. You can also configure which fields are even shown in the result list below, which columns are there, and you can even configure which fields are in the basket. So really you can configure just about every aspect of that component.
Okay, and I think there's one more question. Can I assign targeting sets only to ad specs or also on other objects as a pre-configuration?
Yes, so the most common, of course, is to assign them to ad specs, which is also why I showed that in the webinar, the demo here, because they represent the digital products that you're selling. But you can also use targeting sets and assign them to things, assign targeting criteria to placements, to ad types, or even, if needed, to advertisers. I just showed the ad specs because that's kind of the more standard ones that some users are using at the moment.
Perfect. And I see one more question popping up here. And are targeting sets available for all connected systems?
Yes, so they can be used for all integrated systems that we have in ADvendio. Also a very good point.
Yeah, perfect. Jennifer, as far as I can see, these have been all questions so far. Yeah.
Okay, lots of interesting research.
Yes, lots of questions. Yeah,
yeah,
I like that. And yeah, so Jennifer, I suppose this is our last webinar this year, right?
Yes, it is. You're right. It's been a very long year of webinars. I think not just for us, of course, but across basically all industries have fallen back very heavily on the webinars this year. And what I must at least say for me, that I'm really glad to see that we have as much, if not more, interest in our growing series of webinars that we have here. This is, of course, our last webinar, so Myriam and I of the year. This is for anyone who's only attending this for the first time. We try to run this informative, short-style webinar with the aim to help you better understand and know the ADvendio products and its features. Sorry, got a little tickle in my throat there. And we're really looking forward to coming back to you next year, probably sometime in in February maybe, and that we can get to introduce to you other exciting features and functions that we have within ADvendio and explain to you how they could be useful and what challenges they could, of course, help you address. If there are any topics that you're interested in seeing, you can really feel free to drop a message right now, of course, in the chat if you just have something, on your mind that you want to get out right now, or you can also reach out to your account manager or support@advendio.com. And of course, also to Myriam and I, our contact information will be on the screen in a second. That is also very much a possibility. And I think most people on the line here as well are also already in contact quite regularly with you, Myriam. So they can always tell you when they're talking to you what they're interested in seeing.
Yes.
Of course, in the meantime, if you miss us over the break, you can see us here. You can watch the recordings of our previous webinars on our website, which they are available on demand. And you can also keep an eye out on advendio.com/webinars for any new webinars as soon as they are announced. I know that in 2021, we are really excited to maybe debut some topics to you in our other series, so not in this series, but in our other webinar series, along the lines of maybe media buying, self-service, marketplace, and maybe even a look at our new AI, or artificial intelligence pilot. Hence why I prefer to use AI, much easier to say, which we have for price prediction. So it's really going to be a great year. We have some exciting things planned, but we do really want to keep up this also kind of educational, informative style webinar. So really give us any information or any topics that you would like to see, and we will really do our best to oblige.
Yeah, that would be great if we hear more topics that you would like to hear and see in these kind of webinars, and also the ones to see our new stuff. Yeah, maybe it's going to be an exciting 2021. Yeah, and as you said, we are going to be back in February probably. Yeah, but I know that you might be there a little bit earlier with another webinar, right?
That is true, actually. Yes, we have usually our release webinar in January. So what that will, of course, be is a roundup of kind of the latest features and enhancements that will be introduced as part of the whole of winter 2021. So also keep an eye out for that. That will also be on the ADvendio webinars website. Of course, you'll also get email invitations as well. They're also available. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the new year for the release webinar, and in February for more educational stuff. I mentioned that our contact details will be on the screen in the future, so here they are in case you want to reach out to Myriam or myself on any particular topics or discuss anything. Yeah, here they are, and thank you very much, Myriam, for co-hosting with me today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for showing us so interesting topics. Yeah, and thanks everyone here on the webinar for joining this today. Yeah, thank you. Bye.